happened in that one city, Vienna, during that period of roughly 75 years, from 1750 to 1825, to produce 4 composers. In my wild and crazy project to determine the top 10 composers in history, I've taken on the miracle of Viennese classicism, Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, and Schubert, who arguably would take up 4 slots on this top 10 list. One thing I think was going on was that tonal harmony, the system of major and minor keys, had gotten so sophisticated and set and was so inventive that composers could now manipulate keys like key areas to make big structures. It gave them a way to make longer pieces, quartets and symphonies, that seemed like architectural wholes. The 4 composers all are quite different also. They all have different qualities. To start with Haydn, who is the sort of Papa Haydn, the father of them all. Haydn has been called the father of the symphony and the string quartet as those forms came to be known. He was, among other things, like the master of musical humor. He was also Beethoven's most important teacher. People who know the jolly Haydn might be surprised at how somber this piece is. This is the variations for piano in F minor. Haydn was teaching Beethoven when he wrote this piece, and one thing he learned was this technique of motivic development, where Haydn would take just not a whole theme, a little bit of a theme, and plant it at the beginning of the piece and use it recurringly to sort of generate whole long pieces. Beethoven was studying with Haydn when Haydn wrote this piece, and I think it implanted itself in Beethoven's ear. If you listen to this. And here's Beethoven's most famous piano sonata. It's the Appassionata. He wrote that almost 10 years later, but he remembered. That motive comes right out of the Haydn. I think it is not coincidental. Haydn, besides being Beethoven's teacher, was also a very, very good friend of Mozart. The most important thing to remember about Mozart is that he's Mr. Showbiz. Opera was tops for him. I mean, he wrote all these amazing symphonies, the Jupiter symphonies, the string quintets, the string quartets. He was most at home in the opera house. And sometimes he couldn't help it. A piano sonata, a piano concerto, it just came out opera. Here's a good example, the rondo from the Sonata in D major. Mozart wrote this a few years before he wrote The Marriage of Figaro, and this sounds to me like a little warm-up. I imagine Figaro and Susanna are now married and they're living in the palace and things have been going well, but another aristocrat is making moves on Susanna, and Figaro's gotten jealous and suspicious. And Susanna's trying to say, "Oh, sweetheart, you know I love you." But then Figaro says, "Well, but I saw you." And Susanna says, "Oh, you darling lunkhead, that was nothing." She laughed, ha 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 ha. 3 times, she says. So Figaro mulls this over. What does he think? He says, "Well, what about that time?" She goes, "That was nothing." She says, "Well, I better now really calm him down," so she has to go to town. Okay, that worked. He's now back on board. He loves her. He knows she's faithful and adoring. And finally, a little duet. Susanna goes. Figaro answers her. They're blissfully happy, and everything's fine again. Opera, opera, opera. I don't see how you can play this and not immerse yourself and know and love the Mozart operas. It's just run through with opera.